When a religious leader aligns himself too closely with political extremism, the consequences can be swift. Father Calvin Robinson, a right-wing priest with ties to the UK's far-right movement, was removed from his church after imitating the controversial salute Elon Musk performed at Trump's inauguration rally. Robinson insists it was a joke. Ha ha! Meant to mock liberal outrage. But his dismissal raises larger questions. Where do we draw the line between political expression and extremist signaling? And when religious figures embrace radical rhetoric, what does that say about the intersection of faith and politics today? This story is from the Daily Beast by Emil Dara Adolphus on January 30th, 2025. So I am coming to you first, R. Kelly.
To me.
With a question.
With the question?
With the question for you to say what's on your mind.
Okay, I'm sure, I'm sure that he was just taking the love from his heart and throwing it up to God, Now, I don't know if he said that or if any of his followers ever said that, but after some of the bullshit excuses that I've seen given for Musk doing it, it seems real close to something that I would expect to hear from him. Grab love, throw it to God. Grab love, throw it to God.
Everybody try that.
Grab seed, throw it to Heil.
Great exercise.
I'm going to decline.
I'm not going to take a shower now.
There were all these memes starring Musk too that started out with, so if you don't think this is a Nazi salute, why don't you try it at work or try it in public or try it at church? And this guy, I can't believe it, this guy actually took time out from chewing on crayons to go do it at an official presidential inauguration event. I mean, that takes a special kind of thinking, and I don't mean special in a good way, Cynthia.
Do you mean short bus special?
Yeah, I kind of think short bus special.
Shout out to the
That's
people.
An insult to people on short buses.
That's what I said. That's why I was saying shout out to people on the short buses. We really actually extol you more so than Elon Musk or any of his minions. But speaking of minions, Eli, what does
he does look like a minion.
I'm expecting everybody's drink after this segment is over. But Eli, I have a question for you. What does Father Calvin Robinson's dismissal reveal about the boundaries religious institutions set for political engagement?
Honestly, I was surprised pleasantly to see the Anglican Catholic Church respond that way, because it was a group that I didn't expect standing up to hate in a way that I didn't expect. So I actually props to them for that. But I think it's sort of I think that's setting the example. I think that's the way that all religious organizations should look at political messages of any sort, regardless of the fact that how ridiculous this one is. And I have so much to say about that. But that's how, religious organizations should be handling religious messages, or political messages, because that's not their realm. That's not what they're supposed to be involved in. And those things are supposed to be separate. So yeah, I'm glad that he had a consequence for doing something so stupid.
Eli, I have a follow-up question for you. Are you familiar with the inaugural address that happened with Minister Buddy from the I believe the Anglican Church that's in Washington, D.C.?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so Minister Buddy is the head minister at the cathedral in Washington, D.C. She gave an address imploring J.D. Vance and also President Trump to be more conciliatory to the sojourner, which would be the immigrant, to those who happen to be. Yeah. So if we take Father Robinson's Hiles and we compare it to Minister Bud's message, what is the difference that we can take from both of those messages, and how we should be addressing certain, things that certain rhetoric that does come up in the political sphere to our leaders?
I think firstly, it shows a consistency because I think, did you say that it's the same organization, right? They're both through the Anglican Catholic Church. Okay, so
no,
they're not the same church.
They're not the same church, but they are the same organization.
Same organization, right?
Yeah. The cathedral is an Anglican church.
I don't think they are. That way. In fact, I was going to make a comment about that because this minister is from the Anglican Catholic Church, right? Mm-hmm. And the Anglican Church split off of the Catholic Church. This guy is from a smaller group church that came after that split up. It's not the Anglican Church, and it's not the Catholic Church. It's a third church of its own. Catholic.
Well, okay. Well, I guess that we can, but
it's confusing though. The name is damn confusing.
It is, especially since like Anglicans do still consider themselves little C Catholic. It's in the creed. They believe in one Catholic, Holy and Apostolic Church. Don't get me to say the creed because I can on demand and I will not. But they're still in no problem. But even if like Father Robinson is from the Anglican Catholic Church and Minister Budd is from the Anglican Church, they still hold similar positions in their respective organizations, and do have responsibilities, I would say, when it comes to addressing their congregations, and especially those who would be leaders and also who happen to serve in the White House, in the federal branch, etc. Right? So if we can compare, if we could do a comparing and a contrasting of both of their messages, which one would you say is the message that we should be giving, and which one is not, and should we be more on the portion of beating down Minister Buddy because she would be considered more liberal in her messaging to Trump versus Father Robinson?
So, I think if you're going to compare both of those messages to what regardless of, what we think about the divine claims of Jesus in the Bible, there is a message that Jesus is said to have preached. And if you're going to compare both of those messages from Minister Buddy, who we're being told now is from the Episcopal Church, and through Reverend Calvin Robinson, I think was his name.
Yeah, from the Anglican Catholic Church.
We're going to compare those two messages to that of the alleged message of Jesus. Obviously, Minister Buddy is much, much closer, to be loving and welcoming and inclusive and have community, and for Robinson, for him to display the gesture, the which symbolizes it's so much more than just it's a Hitler joke, LOL. It's so much more than that, and it represents something much more sinister and much darker and much more hateful, and that just doesn't align. Whether you believe that Jesus was real, whether you believe he was the Son of God, whatever the case is, you can't make the case convincingly that aligns with his message. So I think as far as answering your question, your Minister Buddy is the one that I would hope more people are going to pay more attention to.
Yeah, I would hope so too. I think that her message is more in line with what Jesus would have preached, especially when we're looking at the Sermon on the Mount and we're looking at the Beatitudes, right? Blessed are those who are poor in spirit.
Sermon on
the Mount. Helen, help me.
Helen, save Cynthia from Eli and I.
Save me from Prophet Eli, Helen. Oh my goodness. Helen, go ahead, and I know that you have thoughts. Well, Helen, I always preface your musings with thoughts. So please offer them.
on this? Well, okay, so
Yes, you have thoughts on this. Please
I have
offer.
thoughts. I have many thoughts on
Yes, you do. I know. I've seen them written
fascism and
down.
the church, and it's a long history with fascism. The Catholic Church had a very long history with fascism. This is so. Am I surprised that some preachers might be, letting their white supremacy show? No, I'm not surprised at all. What I think is really funny is that Robinson tried to throw it back onto liberals by saying that he alleged that he received hundreds of nasty calls, texts, voicemails, emails from very bitter, angry, vile leftists. And then he started to throw that, well, we're the fascists because they are often the very thing that you think they accuse you of. Well, Robinson, I am not a Nazi, but I forgive you for your ignorance. Well, good for you, sir. This isn't even the pot calling the kettle black. These are two completely separate things, because we're over here going like, dude, you. We're over here.
Let me get this straight for a second. He was complaining that liberals were making fun of him for him making fun of them.
Yep.
Okay.
And he got hundreds of nasty calls and texts and voicemails. Oh, hundreds. Everybody, I don't know if that's true. Don't really care. I hope it is. I really hope there were hundreds of people like up his butt going like, you can't make these symbols. You can't even do it jokingly because nobody finds it funny. Like whenever we see that, we're like, oh no. You're not supposed to do that, because we for a very long time we were like, you can go be a terrible person over there, and we don't want to know that you're a terrible person. But now it just seems like the terrible people are like, I'm just going to tell you how terrible I am, and it just really bothers me when they're the ones promoting these disgusting ideas, and then they try to throw it onto us like, no, really, we're the baddies. And I find that hilarious. And don't thou protest too much. So that's just my opinion.
It's your opinion. And also for those who did not get a chance to get your hundreds of calls into Father Calvin Robinson, his number is 777-9311. Baby, I'll spend the night with you if that's all right. Okay, so I have a question.
Is that part of the number?
It is now.
Oh my goodness.
Hey guys,
for a good time.
For a good time. Guys, it's close to Valentine's Day. I know that all of us are in a randy mood. So check this out, guys. Let me ask this question to the panel concerning the role of social media. So, remember it was, Father Calvin Robinson who was making these claims that he was getting all these calls and that people were being mean to him on the X platforms and the TikTokies. So we wanted to, see what actual role does social media play in amplifying or distorting the political and religious messaging that he was trying to convey, if any. Kelly, I'll start with you.
Oh, you always start with me. Damn, you suck.
That's because you have a cool tie on. What can I say?
I do have a really cool tie.
You do have a cool tie.
That's a very cool tie. And you're on the left.
I will give you that. I think this whole thing really started with social media, right? With Elon Musk doing it, and then the social media reaction to that, and then Robinson doing this in particular incident to make fun of the social media reaction. So, it does play a very important role in politics today, in our society today, because we take these small things like this and amplify them into big, huge things. Now, is it warranted in this case? Yes, it's always warranted to blow up what Nazis are doing and to make them the bad guy. That is always warranted, right? In my book, anyway. But I don't know that like some of the stuff that gets blown up out of into something big is actually warranted. The Hawktuah girl recently is a good example. I mean, what the hell was that about, right? I mean, our society would have been much better off without her. I honestly believe that. We got no enrichment out of that. So social media does play a really, really important part in our world today, for better and for worse.
I know you said something about a social media thing that I don't know what you're talking about, and apparently it's a good thing I don't know about it. So I'm just gonna live in my ignorance.
Yeah, Helen,
I'm gonna live here. I like it here.
live in ignorance. It's a good place for you.
Yeah.
I personally wish that I've never learned, and it's actually the Hawktuah girl.
Hawktuah, whatever.
The Kelly hypothesis
Hawktuah.
is that you're better off without it, Helen.
Yeah,
you are better
ignorance
off.
is bliss.
Yes.
Yeah, you are better off.
Yes. Well, what's your thoughts, Thundercat?
Thundercat.
Yes.
I agree that I think that the reaction to Elon Musk's doing it initially is what led to Robinson realizing that it would be like, oh, if I do this, not only is it going to be like this huge deal, but it's like it's not just him doing it. Now it's in solidarity with like the people who are in power in the United States. So he's currying favor. So it's it was because of that reaction that it sort of became, it's a meme. Essentially, like that party has become a meme alongside with like that gesture, and for him to, I guess, declare his loyalty or to his solidarity, he decided like, yep, that's what I'm going to do, and he felt like he could get away with it, which I think is insane. But as I said before, luckily he didn't.
Pet Cat.
Yes. So I like anything with social media, it's like a double-edged sword, you know, like as Kelly was saying, like, you know, there's like, this definitely should have been a social media story, because we want people to be aware that if his values do not align with yours, and especially if you're a member of that church and you weren't at church that Sunday, maybe you should be like, oh no, and go find another church and find somebody that aligns with your values and I hope he got hundreds of calls, like I said before. I hope he did. That is the proper reaction to somebody being a fascist butthead. That is the proper reaction. As far as other things that get attention, I don't think that they need to have as much attention. For example, Trump wanting to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Now, I find it funny, and it's not going to happen, and it's stupid, okay? I feel like it can be a little blip, but it's been kind of carrying on for a couple of weeks now, and I'm just at this point where I'm kind of like, dude, it's like, well, there's bigger fish to fry than worrying about, like, this particular thing. Like, I'm more concerned about what's going on in like government offices. I'm more concerned with like with all the executive orders that he's signing and so on and so forth. Like, those are the real concerns. Elon having carte blanche to do whatever he wants, you know, as far as, you know, how we run our government. Those are the things I'm worried about. So though, like the example of like, you know, Trump and his weird Gulf of Mexico thing, like whatever, it's funny and weird, but I don't think it should be as amplified as much as it should when we're facing some real fucking really scary problems right now.
Indeed. Well, if I were just to pontificate just a tad bit with my final thoughts, guys, Father Calvin Robinson, again, for a good time, call 777-9311, dismissals highlights the growing tension between religious leadership and political extremism. His claim that the salute was merely a joke underscores a broader trend where controversial figures deflect accountability by blaming public rhetoric and reaction rather than their own actions. Meanwhile, the Anglican Catholic Church, little c Catholic, however you want to say it, swift response suggests an effort to distance itself from inflammatory rhetoric. As faith and politics continue to intertwine, which they should not, this incident raises critical questions about the responsibilities of religious leaders, the power of symbolism, and the fine line between political expression and ideological signaling. And if you, dear viewer, would like more ideological signaling in our ways, and if you want to call us for a good time, you know what I mean. Hey, click here.
Oh.
Hey, Greg, was that good?
Did
you do a good job?
So are we going to start calling Eli Lion-O from now on, or?
I have no problem with that. He has the proper attire.
I'm gonna get you a Thundercat shirt, Eli.
Oh my gosh, like, you know, well, I was gonna call him, like, you know, Tigra, because, like, you know,
yeah, I was trying to decide between Tigra and Lion-O, honestly.
Yeah.
He looks
Eli,
more like
if
Lion-O.
you go to back cruise, Eli, I'm bringing you a Lion-O t-shirt.
I very much hope to.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's opened up Google. I don't know if anybody's opened up Google Maps recently and looked at the worldview, but it says Gulf of America now.
Mm-hmm. Are
it's
you
like Gulf of America?
fucking
and the United States it does. In Mexico,
yeah,
it still says Gulf of Mexico.
No, it's still. If you pull it up on Google Maps right now, it says Gulf of America. It was changed. He did get it changed.
Oh my God!
Did you see what Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, did in response? He renamed Lake Michigan Lake